Without further ado, welcome back, shooters. Thanks everybody for tuning in on a Sunday evening. We mixed it up on you for a little Sunday edition of Shootin' Straight with JD and Joey. Today we are joined by a special guest, Drew Bradley out of Boston. Drew, how are we doing today?
Doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Excellent.
Awesome to be here.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Joey, how are you this fine Sunday evening?
I am excellent. I'm happy to have Drew on. He's one of the few 20-something Americans who can really talk handball. So I think we're going to have a great conversation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as we all are here. So for those that are new to the show, just look beneath my ugly face and you'll see some of the topics for today. Also, I'd like to make comment that I've acquired a giant leather armchair for free on Facebook Marketplace. So if you hear any fart noises, it's just the chair. It's not me. This mic is it picks up a lot of noises. I'm just saying, I didn't eat any beans for lunch. But anyway, so Drew, why don't we let you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell everybody, because I know a lot of people in the handball community in the U.S. definitely are looking to hear a little bit more about you and your background with handball and just where you came from.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started out playing handball when I was a sophomore in college, right at the beginning of my sophomore year, in Boston with Boston Team Handball Club. I had seen handball in the Olympics 2012, and then kind of followed it a little bit before then. And as I'm sure you guys probably did, played in gym class throughout middle school, high school, and always every time I played it, I was like, "This is awesome. Would love to see if somebody else is doing this." And there was a team right around that time in Hartford, but they folded. So I went up and I ended up at Bentley University right outside of Boston for college. And there was a gym that my current Boston teammates were practicing in. It was like an hour drive from Bentley. And for the 3 years after that I was playing, I was driving, an hour each way, 3 nights a week to practice. But it was awesome. Loved every minute of doing that and making that commitment. And now it's been over 2 years since I graduated college. So still playing with Boston. And just recently actually started as the regional ambassador for Boston for USA Team Handball. So, really excited to get working with those guys and start to help grow the college game in Boston and in the youth programs as well. So it should be a fun challenge, something that we definitely need. We've been working on it with Boston Team Handball for a while with youth clinics and things like that, but just think this is a really cool opportunity to finally start to gain some momentum college-wise and, youth-wise as well in Boston.
It's great to know that even for guys who live in the same city as a club, they still have that hour plus drive to practice. That's like a key characteristic of handball in America. But how did
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, amen, man. It develops grit.
Exactly.
The weeds out the people,
We're just coming off Grit Week too, so it's good.
Yeah.
Good topic there.
Good timing.
Yeah.
How did you find out about Boston Team Handball?
Just my own research online. So I was looking when I found the Hartford team. I think that was through the USA Team Handball website, which circa 2015 obviously was not what it is today.
Different place.
It was tough. It was tough, and the club registry was pretty sparse too. There were not many clubs in the country at that point. But I was looking for it freshman year just because I grew up obviously playing a lot of sports, like I'm sure you guys did, a lot of different things, hockey, especially in basketball, and I didn't have a college sport, so I was looking for something just to stay, competitive with and have something to do. And eventually came across Boston. I was like, obviously this is perfect, regardless of how far the drive is. I was looking for something a little bit more interesting and engaging than your regular intramural club sports in college. And I always came back to handball. I was like, I had a blast playing in gym class. Might as well go for it. So I got in touch with a couple of the guys who were running the program at that time, and they're like, I think they thought I was a girl at first, actually, because the women's coach reached out, and I have one of those names that I guess could be male or female, so I was a little thrown by that. I showed up and obviously did not know anyone. I was one of maybe 2 or 3 American-born players out of 30 at that time that we had playing.
Right.
So that's consistent with the American handball experience that we've all had at one point or another. But it was tough. It was a really challenging thing to kind of put myself out there and show up and play a sport I've never played with people I didn't know who were all older than me. but turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made, and made some awesome lifelong friends. Obviously, opened up to a new world of people through handball that I otherwise would never have met, and some really amazing experiences. So glad I did it, and glad I'm here today to talk to you guys.
That's awesome.
The team out of Hartford, was that the New England Freeze or something like that?
So actually, that was Boston team handball.
Okay.
New England Freeze, like from 2001 when they started the team to 05 or 06, I think that was the name, and then there was a pivot to Boston team handball.
Okay.
A little rebranding, right?
A little rebranding. I don't know what their deal was, but I don't think they lasted long. I think Divine might have been involved with them at one point or another. He mentioned something about it, but they're working on maybe resurrecting Hartford team handball. So stay tuned. I don't know.
Hartford Phoenix.
Might go, Whalers maybe, just to add the nostalgia a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah.
A lot of possibilities there. I
don't know if Joey or one of you guys has me on. I could hear the reverb there, so I think we're good. But I'd totally. I don't know, like the Whaler hockey jerseys. Like I love those, man. Like I'm not a big hockey guy, but like I'm all about jerseys. As we didn't have Jersey Saturday today, we got Jersey Sunday today. So I'm all about the jersey lifestyle, and I wore my Bills jersey because that's the closest thing to anything Boston. I could have worn my. Oh, I messed up, Drew. I have a Bobby Orr T-shirt jersey I could have worn. So
I think that still counts for Jersey Sunday.
Yes, yeah. So I should have worn that. I wasn't thinking, but yeah, I'm a member of Bills Mafia, so don't hold it against me. We're hoping to actually win the division this year, but I don't think that's going to happen now. So when Cam got picked up, this is the best
chance you guys have had in a while.
I know. I was like,
I don't know.
So we'll see what Cam can do. I'm sure I'm pretty confident Bill and the company to figure things out. But so you got started in college post 2012 Olympics. Was there ever you came from a hockey basketball background, like just looking to play sports at another level, like you driving an hour to practice, like were you ever like, hey, one of my other buddies, like, you want to come with me to this? Or like, was there anybody else that you knew that was interested to like come with you? Because that's the one thing that I feel like it's tough to find somebody that's like also equally dedicated to sacrifice like 4 hours out of their day, like hour there, hour back, and 2 hours of practice probably to commit to that.
Yeah, I tried with roommates of mine and it didn't work. And then the only person I've ever brought to a practice was actually a coworker of mine when I started interning my current job, who was like the first week I started there. He was like, he's a soccer player. He played Division I soccer. So he was at least had some, there is some skill transfer from soccer. So he came to one practice, liked it. But when you grow up playing soccer and not playing a sport that involves throwing a ball, it's a little tricky. So it wasn't for him. But yeah, I mean, it's true what you said. I feel like it does take a little bit of dedication, and obviously that's not for everyone. It takes a lot of dedication, and especially with that kind of commute, it never became something that I was able to get, friends or roommates from school in to do. But I have hopes that my younger brothers might follow in the footsteps at some point. We'll see if that happens. I'm optimistic it'll get at least somebody from the family or somebody I know to try handball.
Good. Joey's got all his brothers, man.
I got a bunch
nice.
Of but yeah, no, I hear you as far as like the recruiting thing goes. For me personally, like I kind of like being alone in the car. I'm just kind of a weird bird like that. But yeah, it was always kind of a tough sell to really like get somebody to buy into like the level that like I felt like I was buying. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Completely. It was like I don't know what the experiences you guys had were like, but for me it was, get out of class, leave for practice at like 5:30, and then you're not home until like 9:30 or 10 most nights. And it's a lot. It's a lot of commitment on weekends. Obviously we play, if we're lucky, like 2 weekends a month during the Northeast League handball season. So it's a time commitment that if you're not 100% all in on it, most people, it's just you try it a couple times and you fizzle out. And I've seen the only other American players that have shown up to Boston practices or things like that, it's always been like a 2-week trial. They come, they play a few times, and then you see them like once again, and then they're never back. So it's tough. It's one of those things that it does separate the people who are serious about it from the people who aren't very quickly.
So what kept you motivated?
Honestly, I wanted to, at that point in time, to play for the national team, for the junior national team. And still something that I want to do is either, get some experience playing professionally overseas, or, continue pushing to try to compete on a national team at some point in the future. I started playing at 19. When I was 20, I was an alternate on the junior national team for 2 tournaments. Never actually got to play, but that was like, and it's those little things like that keep you motivated, and you get a little bit of that kind of thing. And honestly, part of it too is just the learning curve, like you guys I'm sure know, is so steep when you're in that position, and you feel like every practice you go to you're better and better and better. And I still, even to this day, I feel like I play games and practices and I learn so much from people around me, and from just getting out there and experiencing it, that it's addictive, and it's so much fun to just keep going back.
Amen, man.
I'll be honest, Drew. Or go. I was just gonna say. So, when we saw you get selected for the ambassador position, Joey and I are both like, "Who is this guy?" And then it said like, junior national team player, and I was like, Joey, like you and I have been a part of like every junior national team program or tournament in some capacity for like the last 8 years. And so we're like, I don't remember meeting this guy. Like, who is this guy? And then we did some more digging and found you were the alternate for the tournament that Joey and I both went to for Paraguay.
Which would have been sweet.
Amazing.
So
that's so cool.
But yeah, no, it was, and I recognized you too. You, I think it was in Myrtle Beach for nationals. Like Lewis Howes was there, and I was big on his podcast. And this might not have been you. I think it might have been you though. I'm not sure. Does this sound familiar? Like Lewis Howes was there, and you just like went up and you said hi to him, or no?
I probably was, because I also at that time was like big on his podcast as well.
Dude,
and so I was freaking out when I got to play against him. I was like, because I knew when I first started playing, I was looking into like who was playing handball in America, and found him and started listening to his podcast, obviously. And it was a little bit like he's one of a few people that you can play against here and be like, that this guy's pretty big name, obviously even bigger now than he was. I think that was like 2017 probably when that happened. Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was me. That's great.
I just remember seeing this guy who was like about my age from Boston, and like talking to him, and I was like,
definitely me.
Go up to him. And I did the same thing right after you too, and I was like, I wonder who that was. But
yeah, that's wild. That is funny. I remember that.
I used to really be into his podcast, and then it just sort of fell off for me. I don't know what it was, but
yeah, it's been a while for me too. I feel like just in general with podcasts, especially right now, there's so much to listen to that it's hard. Got to have like 1 or 2 podcasts that are your go-tos, and then stuff like that. Like I probably haven't listened to that in a year or so, but some good episodes for sure.
For sure, absolutely, man.
Now all I listen to is handball podcasts.
Yeah, there we go.
So this in particular.
Yeah, but which one's your favorite, by the way? Just to
tough question. I don't know.
Oh, we're frozen here. We'll give them 30 seconds to come back. What a convenient loss of connection there. Anyways, Drew, we never heard your answer, so if you got one.
We I think Joey and I were not frozen. I don't know what was.
I want to hear it again though. Tell me.
Because I was frozen, so you guys were
weird. Well, I was saying that I'm a little biased, but it would have to be the podcasts that I'm currently appearing on as my favorite in the wide world of handball podcasts that I know are out there.
There's like oh jeez, stupid OBS, killing me, man. There's I don't know, like solid 5 to 10 handball podcasts out there, and 3 of them have come out of nowhere in the last few months. So that's what we like to hear. Sorry everybody for the connections situations. My wife's cleaning and watching TV while she's doing it, so thank you to Kaylee. So sometimes we struggle out here. As my friends say, I live out in farm country, even though I'm like only 20 minutes from downtown. So, anyways, it's good to hear that you're a fan of our podcast. We try to keep it fresh, try to keep it real. We're always trying to shoot straight here. But it's one of those things that I know going on Twitch, it's one of the spots that people are like, why do you go on Twitch? My brother-in-law and all of my brother-in-laws are big streamers. At least they're working to become big streamers, and so they're always talking to me about Twitch and how, that's a good platform to be on for anything that's live. And so we're working towards, Joey and I, if we get enough people to follow us, like we can start getting paid for this, and we're real casual with it, and that's just something that's cool, and we'd like to give that back to everybody if that gets to that point. But if you got people out there, make sure they follow us on Twitch, because otherwise we got all our other boxes checked. We just need more followers. And our good friend of the show, Max, founder and owner of the Armada, Littman, gave us an in with how to get our shows on Spotify. That's Anchor.fm. It's an app that can help you put your podcasts on Anchor. So we'll give them a plug later. I also need to work on other sponsors and things like that. But yeah, it's hard to listen to podcasts nowadays because there's just so many, like you said. And so we're trying to keep ours interesting and try to mix it up with our guests and things like that. So we thank you for coming on, obviously. But
Of course.
yeah, it'd be cool if you could have came with us to Paraguay. And I know, like you said, trying to get involved with the national team and some other aspects. And that's something that, as you're probably well aware of, is different athletic programs and things like that with FCH to try to get, American athletes with professional European clubs. But I also have contacts with some other clubs. As Joey, you always do what Joey did and go play for a team. Just take maybe a 6-month sabbatical, or I don't know what your work situation, if they'd let you disappear for a while, but it's definitely
what's
an
your
option.
plan? Have you planned on, like, are you thinking about going over? Like, are you just looking for an
Yeah,
opportunity?
I've thought about it, and especially the last year or so, as I've played a lot more and become more confident in my ability. I think it's an opportunity I'd love to take advantage of. I think, you have to be at a certain point in life to be able to do things like that. And, I might have missed the first window, like this, the summer year after college, but you only have so much time to chase after things like that are amazing experiences. So yeah, I mean, any advice you guys have, I'd love to hear about what you did and what.
Like, you're not married, like you don't have any kids or anything?
Nope.
What's stopping you, my friend? Come on now.
Exactly. No,
what country do you like? What language you got? We can make this happen right here on the show.
I would love, Iceland is one that I would love.
Iceland. Okay.
A lot of English speakers over there. Beautiful countryside. A lot of good hikes. Good handball too.
They call Denmark the Iceland of Northern Europe. So
beautiful, even better.
Yeah, no, but seriously, I mean, all right. Speaking for me personally, not very athletic, not very talented at handball, but
that's why we play goalie.
Precisely. But the setup they had over in Denmark, it was very streamlined, just to like get over there and have a place to stay, a place to eat. Everyone spoke English. Like, everyone speaks.
That's amazing.
They spoke better English than me, and it's like a very structured, good way to get your foot in the door to see if you want to pursue it or not. So if you're like, I'll send you information about it.
Yeah, I would love. I mean, genuinely, I'm very serious about it, and have been thinking a lot more about it lately. So, you guys, I would really appreciate it. Anything you have.
How tall are you again? 6'3", 6'1"?
6'3", yeah.
Oh, heck yes! All right, so 6'3".
And I'm left wing.
Left wing. Okay.
Position.
No, that's where they'd put you anyways. Let's see.
If I was 6'6", maybe I'd play in the back. But
you like 185, 190.
195.
195. There we go. Good. Okay. So I don't know. I'll work Joey and I can work that avenue. But I got some contacts in Germany, Sweden, and Denmark as well. But we can ask around for Iceland. So
really appreciate it. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that people don't realize that, like, guys on our team at Ohio State, I'm like, you're not taking any classes in person right now. Like, why not? Like, just just go. So one of our guys is a part of the FCH program, and he'll be going over to Europe here this fall, and we're pretty pumped for him. But we want to get more guys, like going to smaller clubs. Just, you could learn so much in such a short amount of time there. I'll take our guys for spring break to random different clubs in Europe, and they come back with so much more knowledge and awareness and understanding of the game that it's like, that was just a week. Imagine if it was like several months. So that's something that we can definitely work on. And that's where, maybe we can transition here into the college development conversation a little bit, is that we need to figure out how we can get more people like that, either bringing them over to Europe to play more, or coming back, bringing Europeans over here to help kind of train them and things like that. I'm sure you probably have some plans in place or some ideas to help kind of grow that maybe interest as well as skill level, because those are two huge, mountains to climb. There is, how do we get more people and how do we improve what we got? So
yeah.
So tell us about, like, because you're officially, like, that's like you're filling a role now that should be like thinking about that a lot. So, like, tell us about the ambassador program, how you got involved in that, and then what your strategy is.
Yeah, of course. So it's obviously it's been a difficult time for handball in the US, and a challenging fall, just given it's kind of just a nightmare with colleges. Some people are going back in person, some people are virtual. Regardless, I don't think you're going to see a lot of sports activities, but weird way, it's been kind of a blessing in disguise, where we've had a little bit of extra time, especially, with the college, the people that we were going to work with and get in touch with don't have a lot going on. So it is a good time to start to make those connections, make those inroads to schools in all of our 5 different regions. And we started a little slow, but we're starting to get our momentum underneath us and starting to make some really good, valuable connections. And the interesting part of the whole thing, just in general, is that question of, like, how do we develop talent at the college level? How do we create sustainable programs that are going to last, so that we can do what you've done, JD, and get talented kids and move them, place them overseas, and start to build for obviously 2028, but beyond that too. So we have youth programs that feed into college programs that then can send kids, to other countries where they're going to learn in these shorts, whether it's a condensed kind of preseason program, or if they're going to play a few years over there, whatever it looks like. So right now, what we're kind of focusing on is just getting in touch with colleges and making the connections that we need to start to set up the club programs. And it's something that you guys have both been a part of at the college level. So, input is definitely always helpful and useful, but we're starting to focus on just a select few in each region. So identifying what those schools are going to be. And when I personally was kind of putting together the ones that I'm working on, we have interestingly enough, a lot of colleges in the Boston area that have intramural handball.
Yep.
So, a few that are pretty competitive, and colleges where you'd see kids, like with Division I sports, where you see kids like the 3 of us, where you go to a school, you're not an athlete, but you've been an athlete your whole life, and you're just looking for that opportunity. And I think for so many people, handball is kind of that door, that opening that you need to have something that either keeps you competitive and keeps you active, if that's what you're looking for, or opens you up to an opportunity to do something professionally or play on a national team in the future. So half of it is just kind of finding the right people and using those connections, whether it's a school that had a really competitive intramural handball league, or people who have played handball in high school and middle school, like we all have, and just kind of creating a network where the schools are close enough together that they can play games. Because I know that's another challenge as well, is just, if we have, say, we're able to create one college club team in Boston, there's not going to be enough competition. There's not going to be enough to sustain that level of play for, they're going to play against my club team, and we're going to smoke them every time because they're new to the game. So that's not fun. So what we really need to do is
got West Point like 3 hours away. It's the next closest team, and they'll get smoked again.
And that's a good one to have too. So yeah, anywhere you shake it, it's going to be tough for these teams unless they have people that they can play against that are, at a comparable level. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the challenge now, is just creating clubs in tandem with each other so that we have the opportunity to create competition. And that's really what it's going to come down to, is just having having small networks across the country in our 5 regions that will help kind of build the level up together. So if we, if I'm able to create 3 clubs starting this fall or starting in the spring, whenever we're able to get, activities back to kind of a normal state on the college campuses, then that would be, that'd be huge to have 3 schools that are within the same hour or so, the Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts area, and get them playing competitively against each other, playing with our club, and potentially with West Point, although that could be tough.
You gotta learn from getting a beat down sometimes. So
completely, and I think that's they're going to need a little bit of that, and they're going to need the right people to help kind of grow the clubs too. So it's going to be definitely going to be a collaborative effort with people who are interested in volunteering as coaches and people who are willing to help run tournaments, things like that. But I just think with the college, especially the fun part of the Massachusetts area is just the sheer number of colleges that we have in Boston. And obviously facilities are not going to be an issue because we have a gym that we play in with my Boston club, and these colleges have some really great facilities, really great opportunities for us to play. So I think it's a fun challenge. It's a really exciting challenge. It's just a difficult time. Mm-hmm. I'm excited though. I think next summer, I'm sure you guys have seen something similar with your clubs, but after the Olympics, we always see an uptick in American players. And I think if we can hit that momentum, assuming there is an Olympics in 2021, I think that could be, with the timing of this, this creation of all these ambassador roles and some new clubs rolling into the Olympics happening, could be huge. Could be a really big catalyst for change in the U.S.
It was almost better that it got delayed, because now you have a year to really intentionally strategize for it. So it sounds like you've really got your act together up there, and I'm really excited to see what you come up with, Drew. I'm kind of curious. So are you focusing mainly on the big Boston colleges and BUs, or is it more like the smaller schools, maybe the Tufts or Emmanuel College? What's your thinking as far as what you're targeting?
It's kind of a mix. I am a little biased. I like smaller colleges. I like smaller colleges that are at a Division I, Division II kind of level, because I think that's where you get a little bit of a mix of kids who are kind of like us, like athletes their whole lives, like I said, and who are looking to do something. So I think schools like Providence College, it's a Division I school, but it's not huge. It's not going to be a Boston University where they have tons of established clubs, and it's a little bit more difficult to break in. It's a smaller school. They already have intramural handball being played there. So that's one that I really like, that is close enough to the Boston area. They obviously have world-class facilities. They have a lot of great athletes, great student body, but it's not huge. But I do think there's got to be some give and take there too, right? Like, we've got to have some of these bigger schools. If you had the Boston College Team Handball Club or Harvard, places like that, that's going to be a really exciting thing for the game. And I think it's an evolution. It's starting with smaller schools and kind of building our way up to some of these more established, bigger universities. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I think we're gonna push it and see how far we can go with all the schools that we can possibly get our hands on at this point. And the other ambassadors are awesome. It's such a cool group of people with really different experiences with handball. And I think just in talking to all of them on a pretty regular basis, I think we've got a really good start going. So it's awesome.
For sure. I'm also curious too. So you mentioned this a little bit, but how are you going to handle the coaching situation? Because granted, handball is a pretty simple game to learn, but it really, really, really helps when there's people who have played it and can teach it and are enthusiastic about it. So how are you mainly going to rely on Boston Team Handball Club to have people assigned to different teams? Or are you looking to train coaches at these schools?
It's definitely a question we've wrestled with, because from my own experience, if you don't have someone that knows, if you're starting out, even as a super athletic player, as a 18, 19-year-old, you're never going to get the tendencies down. You're never going to figure out the small little intricacies of handball that an American player is going to struggle with, because they didn't grow up playing it. So, as much as I'd like to sit here and say, yeah, we could just train people to do it and they'll coach and whatever, I think it's going to be, it's something that I'm interested in doing on the side, is coaching. And I know we're doing the USA Team Handball refereeing clinics. I hope there's some coaching stuff to follow that up. And at some point, I'm sure that'll be in the cards. But Yeah, I mean, I think I'm hoping that there's enough interested, Boston team handball participation that we can get some people volunteering to do some coaching for these clubs. And I think it's going to be, it's going to be a challenge. It's one of the things that we're still kind of trying to figure out with these regions, and especially some of the bigger cities, just as things are more spread out, it is going to be harder to get people who have the handball background to these different places. So, yeah, I mean, it's a fun thing to think about coaching handball. It's as you 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's good. You learn more about the game as a player, I think, if you have the chance to coach. So yeah, I'd love to step in and do that, but I think it's going to take kind of a village to make it happen.
Yeah, coaching is also a delicate one because you being in Boston is a little bit more cultured. I think there's a little bit more diversity than here in Columbus. Because I know when we had our coaches, they're both from Macedonia. It was very difficult to get everybody on the same wavelength. So you get athletic guys like us coming out of high school, and the drills that they want us to do, and the you just look and they're like, why am I here? Like, why are we playing leapfrog instead of like just playing games? Like, I just came here to play handball. I don't want to like play tag and all these other little games. But then what's funny is that I was running everything. I was like, okay, guys, just play along with what they want. And now I follow a bunch of different handball accounts, and you'll see like teams like Kiel, they're playing little games like that in their practice, and it's like, oh well, it really wasn't that crazy. That's just normal
Yeah.
handball. I would say coaching drills for warm up and things like that. So it's a real thin line. You want to make sure that you don't lose people to foreign vibe kind of thing. Just
Yeah.
things to think about.
What is JD in your experience at Ohio State? What's the coaching structure like? Is it were you saying it's Macedonian handball players that coach?
So when I started the team, I was just me and my buddies. I worked at the water park, and I got all my water park buddies and friends from high school, and we just we're just doing this. And I ended up meeting Mark Ortega's brother, who was also starting a club at the same time, just total happenstance. And he got me connected with Mark, and then Mark became our coach. Well, then Mark had to end up going to Auburn, so he handed over the reins to the guys that were running the Columbus adult team at the time, which was Tony and Dime, and they had a lot of other Macedonian, Russian, a lot of Eastern European friends, and so they kind of stepped in to help us out. And like Tony took IHF coaching course, like he's very well certified, but when it came to working with American players who are adult grown men who have the handball knowledge of a little kid, it was very difficult for him because he can coach at a high level, but he can't take people who don't have any. He gets very frustrated when there's no baseline. So it was tough to like get guys that would come off the street. You could see they would eventually have potential, but it was going to take them a long time. Whereas Tony he was ready to work with the guys that were ready to train hard. But then we ended up stepping away from them. They understood that was what was necessary for the club to grow, and since then we've basically tripled or quadrupled in size. So
Wow.
it's been very nice, but at the same time, that means I'm coaching all of them by myself. So it's tough, but that's the way a cookie crumbles. So now we have a women's team as well. I got to find someone to coach them. So I try to get my wife, but she doesn't want any part in that. So we're trying to find somebody. It's not easy because it really just comes down to someone just really. You don't have to. For what we need I feel like with college handball, we just need someone to be organized, and that's really all it comes down to. I mean, the drills. There's lists and lists of drills. You could watch a couple of games. It's if you have any kind of sports background, you can figure out what could be helpful because it goes back to my do we climb the more teams or do we climb the better quality gameplay mountains? And I think like from where we are right now, like it'd be nice to climb both at the same time, but if we can just get
Yeah.
more people out there, and sure, you don't want to do the same stupid drills every time, but if you can start to like have a progression, and that's where some of us have been working. We were working with a program to launch to coaches to help with like lesson plans for a season-long progression. So that way we know how the two clubs can improve throughout the course of the year. I'm going to pause. Oh, boy. That wasn't fast enough. Sorry, folks. I was just about to, hit the intermission button there, but I'm glad I was the only one talking there and not Drew or Joey, so I can ramble for years. As I was saying at the beginning of the show there, we'd like to try to give a shout out to Anchor.fm. Max gave us a plug for them to step in as our, maybe Spotify means, help get our show on Spotify, which would be nice. We'd also, as always, like to give a future shout out to handballshop.com. Mishi reminded us last episode, but I reached out to them and have not heard back yet. So we're hoping that can be made, because we would love to put a little handballshop.com all over our advertisement section here in our halftime break. So we're working on getting that all cleaned up, and this was a nice quick break here. Everybody came back in the right spot. The problem I always have is when people's cameras switch, but these guys joined at the right time. So we're back. Sorry for the cutout there. I panicked and I saw less than 1 minute and I was like, oh, it's going to cut off here right now. So, Mishi was complaining in the chat about how USATH Handball charges expats $180 plus $70 to become a coach. So that's something that we also have to keep in mind.
Wait, let me get this straight. You have to pay
Correct.
to contribute to.
Here's the problem is that to be a coach, you have to do your safe sport and background check. Okay. And so a lot of the expats have, the way that the background check works is that if you have lived in another country for more than 6 months in the past, I think 7 years, then it's $180 instead of the $25 or $30 that it is for everybody else. Plus, you have your normal USC Team Handball membership, which is $70. So, yeah, to be a handball coach is, if for most of the experienced handball people, it's about $250. Plus, you got parking and driving and all the other jazz. So,
yeah. I think the thing that we're all kind of getting at here, and I think it really strikes the heart of the problem, in my opinion, in handball in the U.S. And you can agree or disagree. It's just not, and for lack of a better term, I'm going to say it, handball in the U.S. is just not a sexy thing to be a part of. Like it's
not yet.
People get hooked in. People get hooked in from seeing it on the Olympics, and then they play it and it's a ton of fun. But then when it gets down to it, like there's no real avenue to compete. Like we're not meeting people where they're at. You know what I'm saying? So like a 20-something athlete who wants to be involved in handball, maybe is looking for something competitive, maybe is looking to learn and possibly play for. So
like Wick was saying, they want to continue to excel their athletic abilities and be competing at a play for something
But how and I don't know, Drew, I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. How weird is it to be training really hard? Like, okay, whatever, we're doing these weird ex-Yugoslavian drills here, but that's fine. That's part of it. And then you go to play your first game, and it's at 8 a.m. in a middle school gym, probably on the other side of the country. And then you're playing 3 more games after that, and then 3 games the next day. It's just not a fun, sexy thing to be a part of.
Referees the guy from the previous game, and you hated him because.
Yeah, it's so different from what you'd get in any other sport. And for people like you said, Joey, that grow up with an athletic background, your high school, your middle school sports games are going to be better organized than your handball games that you're playing. And and it's just, it's all of those things. It's gyms where the goal is leaning up against the padded wall of underneath the basketball hoop. And there's not even enough space for a full court. So you're running along the wall when you're running on the wings, and, playing 3 games in a day. It's brutal. It's a tough experience, and it's not what you imagine it to be. So that's the biggest question right now, is just how do you elevate the quality of not only the games and the play, but kind of that sexiness, like the frill that comes with handball.
For sure. And I mean, it's very cool to be able to represent Boston. Like that's a huge asset to be
Yeah.
able to say like I'm on Boston's, you know, not semi-professional, but like I'm on Boston's team handball team, right? I get to play against New York City, but then how do you? That's obviously not compelling enough, because if that was sufficient to keep people interested, you know, we'd have plenty of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure how the growth has been for you guys, but you know, I'm sure it's been, you know, you'd like to see more growth, right?
Yes.
And especially with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So like, how do you get somebody at you know, Harvard to buy in a way, you know, maybe they don't want to go to the Olympics, but you can still offer handball in a way that's fun and they can compete,
Totally.
right? Like,
yeah, I think part of it is, you know, facilities and quality of equipment and having all the tools that you need to give people that experience. It's kind of shallow that it has to be that way, but you're right. You're onto something when you say you have to give people who are used to a specific kind of athletic environment and experience the things that they're used to, right? Like the drills are going to be a little weird. We've all experienced that when you first come into handball. It's just different. It's a different thing. It's not conventional, and it's whether it's a cultural thing, it's a sport thing, that's how it is, and you learn to love it over time. Maybe it's not for everybody, but the only time that you really get that like I'm at a real legitimate sporting, you know, kind of experience is when you go to nationals, and you know, not everybody gets the chance to do that. So it's tough to have the, you know, the space, because I know, you know, the gym that we play at in Boston, we've had issues with using glue on the floors and things like that, and that limits where you can play. The space is a little weird because it's bigger than a basketball court, so that limits where you can play. So, you know, it's like, how do we find the right balance of improving the quality of the games, but also like having places where people can go to play handball and learn from people who are quality coaches who have this background, who kind of speak the same sports language that they do, so that they can relate to their players. And that's one of the fun parts about playing for a club team like Boston, or, you know, the way that you guys do. I'm sure you have a lot of people from different backgrounds, and people bring amazing handball experiences, and obviously that brings a lot of clashing and difference of opinion and things like that, but you learn a lot from it. I've never in my life as an athlete experienced more, you know, kind of a disagreements and arguments over what the right thing to do should be. So yeah, it's hard because you want to improve the quality of club play, but at the end of the day, if the goal of USA Team Handball is to field an Olympic team, it's not going to be the club handball that gets us there. It's going to be youth and college handball. So, you know, I was a part of a couple different calls with Barry and Melissa when we were going through, they were talking to the club teams, and it was awesome to kind of share feedback that we have. But, you know, it's almost like two separate entities. Like the USA Team Handball focus needs to be on developing young handball players so that we can compete in 2024, 2028. And the club structure is just tough because it's hard to finance clubs, and it's hard to get sponsorships, and like, how do you get the money that you need to even just to pay for a gym? But I think the people who come in like us expect a certain experience, and they expect their handball, you know, kind of time to go differently than it does. But at the end of the day, we're lucky to have a really competitive league. And yeah, it sucks to have to go and play 3 games on a Saturday and then 2 games on a Sunday when you can barely walk, and 3 of your teammates have left and gone home because they don't really want to be there the next day. But that's kind of the reality that we all live in as handball players in the U.S.
Yeah, like what, and John Ryan said this before, but what other sport do you see where there's an adult, like where the primary league is an adult amateur league that's like handball? Like it's like and none of the, really none of these players, if we're being honest, in the club league are real contenders for, like they're not even close to being like even a 4th division French team, right? Like at best. And so like it's a very, very, I don't even know how we got to this point now where there's like no youth focus except for San Francisco. Shout out Martin. He's probably watching this right now.
Martin's, of course, he's watching.
Yeah, seriously. So it's like it's a very weird beast we have, obviously. And I'm just curious, what do you think the solution beyond just focusing on college is going to be for for fixing the problem? What do you think it is?
I think part of it is going to be, I think there are two paths to what you're saying. Like one path is a shorter term fix where, I know we have a lot of players who have dual citizenship who are really talented handball players. Like that's how you put handball on the map in the US. And whether, those players are form kind of the basis for the team in 2028. And then we hope that the momentum of having an Olympic team and hosting an Olympics in LA kind of gets us more kids involved. I think that's kind of one path to go down, but I think what we're trying to do and what Martin has done in California and what we're building towards with this ambassador program is starting at a very basic level to get kids to at least experience handball, to go to clinics to play handball, to have an opportunity to play handball in a league in a major city. And yeah, it's tough. Like we all know, you grow up, you play hockey, you play soccer, basketball, baseball, just because that's what's available. That's what selfishly can get you a college scholarship or help you play professionally someday. We're going to lose out to those sports, at least for now. But I think what we're trying to do is build in places where we have a lot of, dense populations of people where we can afford to put a league together. It's going to be important to find, different facilities like what Craig has done in Chicago, and, put together an opportunity where kids can go. And if it's a boys and girls club, give them a handball net, run a monthly or weekly handball clinic and start to get teams together there. Or, I know we have a few locations in the Boston area that are really interesting, like multi-sport facilities. So places almost like what we had in Myrtle Beach where we were playing nationals, where you can put a handball court out there and run a Saturday league with kids, at a young age, or, just at least get them introduced into the sport. So obviously it's a long-term strategy and it's going to take a while to reap the benefits of these kind of seeds that we're planting. But I think that's the ball that has to get rolling now, so that by the time 2024, 2028 come around, we have this new crop of people that are playing, and people who see handball and see that the US has a national team that's in the Olympics have a place to go. So, if you're a parent and you see handball on TV and you got a kid who's looking for a sport to play, you live in Boston, you have a league that your son can play, your daughter can play in. And I think it's a slow burn. It's going to take a long time. And, like you were saying, Joey, we're in a unique position because handball in the US is driven by players who move here from other countries, from Germany, France, other places in Europe, South America, wherever it may be. They're the ones who form the basis of this league. And it is rare, like you were saying, to see Americans in their 20s who play handball.
You're the only other one besides JD that I know.
Yeah. I like I was saying before we started, like I have one teammate who is a dual citizen but was born in France that I know, and the rest we have a few Americans in their 40s, but that's it. And that's the hard part. Like the dream is to have 30 of us in each club in the future and have college teams that are fed into by youth teams, but it's going to take time. And it's a really complicated challenge, but I think what we're doing right now and what we're going to continue to do building up towards these next few Olympics is going to be what kind of forms the groundwork for that development.
Absolutely.
Just so you're aware, Joey, though, the Armada is firing American cannons left and right all day. So we don't have we actually don't have any foreign influence on the Armada right now. So we're
wow.
Yeah.
And it shows when you take
the Dublin drunks, though, they're not messing around. So we're looking to those guys are looking to really take it on to the next level. So I'm excited to watch them play. And then there's talks about another team forming here in Columbus now that Mr. Alex Records moved back. So Mishi just wanted to say that Cal Heat's always watching. What?
Why would Alex go start a new club if there's like two within a half hour of him?
Well, Joey, good question. Because I have enough people, we can split. I got 30, 40 guys, and so we could easily just split into 3 teams and then just have 3 competitive teams. So rather than one massive team. So that's in the works. It's all part of the grand scheme here. But so Drew, one question I wanted to ask though is that you talked about parents seeing handball on TV. What is being done in the current situation as you probably are aware, Big Ten, being a bunch of, I'll leave my opinion out of this, but they made a decision to pull football for this fall. I realize that Northeastern schools aren't a part of that, but is there anything that could be done to, and I'm sure things will change in the next few weeks, but I don't know how big NESN is, but that's like the Fox Sports of like New England, or like the local sports of New England, basically. But like, I'm sure that they probably have some time slots for college sports. I would think. I don't know if that's normal, but what would it take to get them in contact with some of the European media rights groups to get a connection with that? Because that's a way that it doesn't cost you anything. You're just, the guy setting up a relationship between two entities. The Euros want handball in America. The Americans want sports that are happening. So I'm not sure everybody wants to watch a replay from 3 years ago on a Saturday afternoon baseball game. So I think some live sports would really get people going. But
the way the Red Sox are playing too, I don't think anyone wants to watch that. I would rather watch handball. Honestly, we had worked with NESN once in 2016. They ran a feature on Boston team handball in advance of the Olympics, like the week before, highlighting, like, they came to a practice of ours and filmed and talked to a few players who had played with national teams before, which was really cool. It was definitely a big thing for us, because NESN, like you said, is the big TV provider out here. But I don't know. It's such a good question, because even like in March, when we were all sitting at home, nothing to do, no sports to watch, like, what better time than there will never be a better time to watch handball. And I know we were lucky enough to get Handball Week on the Olympic channel,
which was a huge rise.
Yeah. I like, even at that point, I had a few people reach out in the Boston area in the week or two after that who were saying, they grew up and played soccer, played basketball, whatever. One guy was a coach of a high school basketball team, was like, I'd love to get my players to come to one of your practices. So hopefully that momentum sticks and we can get some of these guys out to actually come join us. But that was huge. That was an awesome, recruiting tool, and at least just an awareness play to get people to see the sport. But I mean, what better time? Like, there will never be a better time than now, especially that obviously Saturdays are going to be pretty empty without college football in the fall. So I don't know what it's going to take. I know there's obviously been some shifting of handball rights and who owns it. That company, is it DAZN? They have Zone, whatever.
I think it's
Zone.
I
always call it
John will always correct us, but I'm with you.
Whatever, they own the rights to it, I guess, now, and I know they're fairly big here with like boxing, I think, in the US. So what's stopping them? I don't know what it would take to show them that there are people out there that are interested in watching handball here, but that's a place to start. I like, we all probably have streamed our fair share of handball games online, watched old Olympic matches on YouTube. But I mean, I don't understand. Obviously, it's over our heads what's going on with TV networks and all that. But God, I would love to see handball on NESN or a local program, or ESPN2 runs random reruns of their garbage TV shows all day, and give me a 2 a.m. handball time slot, and I'll tune in.
That's how we get most of our people, 2 a.m. during the Olympics. It's like the people I talk to about this sport. Drew, do you have a favorite club team in Europe?
I do like PSG. I know that's kind of the fair weather answer to the question, but
do you like you're a Patriots fan though, so that makes sense.
Yeah. I've always been a big Uwe Gensheimer fan, just because he plays the same position I do. So watched him play at PSG. I watched a lot of their games. And obviously just the collection of talent that they have is absurd. So watching handball on that level, when you can see Mikkel Hansen, the Karabatic brothers, like all those guys playing, some of the best players you can see in the Olympics, all on the same team, obviously feels a little bit unfair, but like, there's no better way.
Win every year, so it's not that unfair.
I don't understand how that happens. They just somehow never win, and they're a ridiculously talented team.
You got to get into the lab and get that chemistry brewing. So
it's like an all-star team that just can't find their footing. But how about you guys? What What are you guys fans of?
Man, I'm torn. Having gone to the Kiel match, it's tough. I definitely like watching them. I know when I first started into it, I was a big Ryan Neckar-Lowen fan, but I don't know. I've been all over the place. Joey and I've seen like firsthand a lot of different clubs, so it's been cool. Like I kind of like the smaller tier places. Like we went to Tuna in Denmark, and you can play as them on Handball Challenge 17. So it's kind of cool.
Love that game. That's awesome.
Pretty pumped for Handball 21 to come out. So
Thank God they brought
that wave. But Joey, who's your favorite?
I think of the big clubs, and like you, JD, I've got like special affinities for a lot of the small ones, like Skjern in Denmark, like one of my favorite small ones. I got to give a shout out to the Herning E-Cast Fighting Unicorns. It was the women's team, dude. Like, it was hilarious. This town is like 15,000 people. Well, you'll see it when you move over there. Okay, so
perfect. Yeah, exactly.
But, they have this arena of like 5,000 capacity, and it's just for women, and like their mascot's a unicorn, and they got this person running around in a unicorn costume, and like, you know, a Sunday evening they'll fill the place up. It's wild. It's really awesome. That's like my favorite not big team. My favorite big team is Vesprem. I like those guys. They
like you as well, so that's
mutual admiration club. But they you know, as a Lions fan, it's I'm used to getting my heart broken, and they're really good at breaking my heart as well. So
perfect.
Yeah.
But
you guys have seen a lot of these clubs play when you were over there. That's got to be cool. I've never had the chance to see in-person professional handball.
You will. I promise you, my friend.
Yes. I can't wait.
Bro, it is like, Drew, I like can't even explain the feeling of just going to a place that like is a handball arena. Like even just having it be empty, like
so strange.
Right? It's just weird. And then like to go to a game and just to know like all these people are paying money like to watch handball, like it's an NBA game, like
amazing to watch the sport that we love that we can't relate to anyone that we know because no one cares about it. But yeah, you find an arena of 10,000 passionate, like screaming fans there to watch handball. It's got to be unreal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like validating. It's like a weird feeling of like everyone thinks I'm crazy, but here I am.
The biggest thing I take away from Go's pro games, and you'll see this, Drew and Joey, I'm sure you have them, is the collapsible poster. So everybody gets a poster, and it's got like perforation, so it folds up, and you can turn it into this smacker, and you just sit there and smack your hand, and you have 10,000 people just smack, smack, smack in unison. You just look around the stadium. It's just like you're in some kind of like torture chamber, and everybody's about to like beat you up, and it's just like so loud, and I'm like, if you did that at any college football game or NFL game, like sure it's outside, but like 100, if you're at the shoe with 110,000 of those things, just everybody clapping, like I'd be terrified if I was the other team walking into that. Like, oh my gosh.
And dude, that like the energy, like
the energy, and these are all old people too. Like they're just still getting after it, you know.
It's so interesting, like the difference between sports here and sports in Europe. I mean, like hearing that, and then I'm a big soccer fan, so I've been to a few Chelsea games in London, and like people are shooting off flare guns.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? They have police officers separating home and away fans, and like that's really tame compared to what you get in other countries where they're chasing referees out of the stadium, and like it's awesome. And to see that kind of passion at a handball game has got to be almost like a religious experience where you're just it doesn't feel real. That's awesome.
Exactly it. Yeah,
I'm picturing a Detroit Flint to have that kind of that passion, so I'm really excited for that to come.
Yeah.
Well, half the reason I wanted to like start Detroit, like you, I think it was you, Drew, that mentioned it earlier, but like, a year ago, I had no interest in starting a club. Like it's just like even before that, like did not sound appealing at all. Like I don't really know how to teach it, so that's one hurdle. And B, just like the amount of time, energy, and then like for lack of a better term, return on the effort, it just didn't seem appealing. And going to Europe and seeing what you just described, like the craziness in the stands and like the energy surrounding it, I was like, nobody's going to get into it to that level in the US. Like US sports fans just aren't like that. But then I went to this like minor league soccer game in Detroit City FC, and like it was just like that. Like they had like the smoke bombs and everything. I was like,
That's awesome.
let's go for it. So yeah, that's what we're shooting for at some point.
I'm sorry you didn't get the chance to host nationals too, because that was going to be awesome.
It was going to be sweet. It's going to be sweet.
Maybe next year.
2021, we could come back to you because it certainly sounds better than where was it in Pennsylvania? York, Pennsylvania.
York, yeah.
Yeah, I would give me Detroit any day of the week over a place like that.
It'll be fun, man, and that's what I kept going back to. Like, if York, Pennsylvania can host this thing,
no reason Detroit can't.
Yeah. Why not? And I saw a few of those videos that you guys did when you were first planning it out, and I mean the venue looked perfect for handball, much more space than we had in York. I mean, yeah. Obviously a tough year, but I hope we get the chance to get back there next year.
Drew, he was going to have handball on like the freeway overpass. Like the facility was going to advertise it, and it was going to be everybody going into the city every day for like, what was it, like going to be like 2 weeks straight? They'd see the advertisement, or a month or something like that. It was like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
The best visibility handball's ever gotten in the U.S. right there.
Right. I was so pumped. And I was like, really, the goal again was to kind of create that atmosphere from Europe, to like just make it feel like an actual, handball game, right? Because like you've played in Myrtle Beach, right? Like underwhelming.
Yeah.
Not to say it wasn't a great experience, but wouldn't it be great to just one night, every night during nationals, to have like a marquee game, right? And like have the full pyrotechnics, like the music, whatever. Like
smoke show.
Incredible.
Yeah, so that's the vision.
Just to have fans that aren't teams that you're also playing in the tournament, and like a couple people's spouses and kids would be amazing too. I feel like we need that.
Having played in front of that, it completely changes how you play. Like I've done it two times in the U.S. Once was when we had a scrimmage against West Virginia, and they brought the entire like Kuwaiti club from campus, and there was like they had 40 or 50 guys just chanting and hooting and hollering, and it was like Sunday afternoon in West Virginia before school was back in session, so there was nobody on campus. But this gym, we had 50 guys just going nuts, and I was like, where am I? And then we played at halftime of a Columbus futsal game, and it was like you had 300 captive audience members, and they were just there watching futsal, and we just played at halftime, and like sure, like they they clap sometimes when people score. They didn't really know what was going on, but like it's still like you could sense there's people around you, which is a cool feeling. Martin also from the chat wanted to say that he's never understood the American tradition of leaving a game early just to beat traffic. So yeah, it's just that's the American way, unfortunately. Drew, I did want to ask another question. So you being a Boston guy, I'm sure you're familiar with Barstool, and we'll tread lightly on this water here, but Joey and I have both talked a lot with Billy Football. I don't know if you've talked to him at all, but I've sent him some handball stuff, both a ball, some gear, some random other paraphernalia, and he seems to like really be somewhat into it. Obviously, we don't know if he's going to play football this year or whatnot, but he's another guy that's, physically, like he's like 6'4". He's a little bit bigger than you, it sounds like, stat-wise, which could be awesome. He was supposed to play with us this past weekend or 2 weeks ago at a tournament in New Jersey, but Ohioans weren't allowed to play, so he didn't want to play unless he was flying with the Armada. But I'm sure if you could get him, you guys could probably connect a lot better than some of the guys from the Boston team if they tried to work with him. But he lives in Rhode Island, so not sure how close or far that is for you. But
yeah, that's easy. Definitely. Anytime. I mean, that was a fun little run that we had for a few months.
Yeah.
Pardon my handball. And
what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
I was nervous when I heard that they were doing the podcast episode with
Howdy,
the former player, just because with their style, you never know what they're going to do, like making fun of things. And but I thought it was an awesome podcast episode. And as much as they do clown on certain aspects of handball, and like it was probably a month or so ago when that list of the hard
that list,
like,
man. I was fighting that list hard.
That was absurd. There was I almost thought that had to be a joke the way that was put together, but they. It goes to what we all hear a lot from people. I'm sure that like new people to handball who always say that it looks like it's super easy, all that. It's you play once, it's not. But to be able to get those guys out there would be unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Football's a start. It would be cool to get him in and do something, and then see if you can get Big Cat and PFT out there to do some kind of a handball thing. But so you guys were gonna be in Flanders last week, a couple weekends ago.
Yeah. So we got third last year. We went 4-1-1 on the weekends. We were pretty pumped. We were gonna have a good shot of contending, and then Ohio was on the 2-week quarantine for New Jersey, so they told us we couldn't come. And Billy was like, "Yeah, I'll come play with you guys." And so I told him, I was like, "You can play with another team if you want," and he was like, I don't know about that. So I'll tell him to talk to you or something like that.
I wish I knew. Boston didn't go down, but Divine brought me in to come play with Nyack for the weekend. It was awesome. It was a really cool. I never played outdoor handball before. First time there. So much fun.
Flanders that's my favorite tournament every year.
Most fun I think I've ever had at a handball tournament. That was really, really cool.
And I don't know, extracurricular wise, but I can tell you that we do not lose the foosball tables, and we run that table all weekend long. So
love it.
It's awesome.
Love it. Let's we'll plan to meet up next year. Play down there.
Absolutely.
That was really cool. Are you guys are you doing anything? I know like there's been some talk with Northeast League playing some outdoor games, things like that, just to keep people kind of engaged with handball, but also safe. Are you guys doing anything similar?
Well, Joey, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, we kind of had a little speakeasy game between Columbus and Detroit. Like it was
underground, literally.
In our defense,
like that.
In our defense, it was like Michigan was like cleared for gatherings of 250 people. So we said, all right, like we're gonna go to a park and duke it out. So we did that, and then we're practicing and we're doing some stuff as well. Outdoors, all outdoors, and like we're Lysoling masks, all that stuff. We're doing everything we can, but with football being canceled and just I don't know, we're still approved to be outside. We're still allowed to do stuff. So I'm trying to make hay while the sun shines here, right? There's not a lot of other organizations doing anything, so people there's demand for sports, right? So that's what we're up.
That's awesome. At least it's something, and it is definitely it changes the game a little bit, but it's fun to be outside and just have some handball being played. And I feel like I've seen on Instagram from a couple other clubs, like it looks like New York's doing some stuff outdoors. So hopefully if that's the way we have to play games in the fall, that's great. That's fine. We'll take it.
Have fun. It's a little Friday Night Lights atmosphere.
Yeah, dude. Like, and Joey and I have both played on turf in big tournaments, and it's fine. Like, as you probably saw from playing Flanders, like you might get a cleat or two, somebody jumping on you, but at the end of the day, it's like it's better than not playing. So
exactly.
But I think that's definitely the path to pursue, is if we can start getting games on turf. And the thing is that if you're at a football field, you could have it in a high school football stadium probably, and a lot of those public schools will let you play there for free because you're paying tax money for the area. So it's like, all right, we're just gonna go. You got some tape that you just tape on the turf or a rope and just kind of tape the rope to the turf, and that's what we do. And people are like, oh, you're gonna trip over the rope. I'm like, the rope is a quarter-inch thick. If you're tripping over a quarter-inch thick rope, you got to pick up your feet. I'm fine with that. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's something that we definitely want to do. The Ohio State guys are all getting back to campus this weekend, so we're trying to come up with our kind of steps plan forward, because we're not supposed to do anything on campus. So we're trying to make sure we can facilitate something off campus. But Joey and I are looking to do games between us, Pittsburgh, and Columbus to try to just keep everybody sharp. And as things progress, I'm sure we'll get some other mandate out there that's saying, oh, don't do this, don't do that. But we'll see. We're doing our best to stay safe and stay healthy. So.
So, Drew, you said the Northeast League is going to start playing games outside?
I don't know anything specific, but I know just in talking to Divine, he was saying that he's hoping to set up some games, either league sanctioned or just with with NIAC or SSC or some of the teams in the kind of the tri-state area, like get some games going outside. Just it's hard. I mean, you like we talked about, without the Olympics, the handball audience, you don't want to lose that engagement, especially American players. Like only have a certain small window to keep people playing games and keep handball top of mind. So if that's the form it takes, I'm down. Outdoor games were fun. Whatever we have to do to keep playing. And I think, like you guys were saying, you guys have a nice little kind of pocket of teams out there in your area. So might as well games and tournaments outdoors, things like that.
Big time.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Whatever it takes. Yeah.
Amen, dude. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Drew, that brings me to, I've got a couple more questions. I guess
for sure.
I'll roll them into the same one. What is your dream for the sport? Like personally, professionally, like what do you hope to accomplish in the next, say, 10 years in the sport? And I forgot my second one, so that's the only question I have. What is your dream for the sport?
It's a great question. I think if you're looking personally, I think you guys may be helpful in getting me towards that. But playing professionally, playing somewhere overseas is
100% possible.
Yeah,
check that one off the list.
Yeah,
that's
done.
Love that.
Good as done.
Yeah,
perfect. I think there's no better way to learn, and I feel like that's if you really want to play the game to the best of your own ability, you got to learn from people who know the game best. And I've learned so much from people in Boston, but to take it to another level and play, however 5-6 days a week, whatever that ends up looking like, that's like, what more could you really ask for than doing the sport that you love, traveling to a new place, new culture, all that. I think it'd be really, really cool. And yeah, I want to take it as far as I can, learn as much as I can, get better. And yeah, I mean, of course the dream is still to represent Team USA at some point in my life. I mean, you guys have had that opportunity. It's an amazing feeling, I'm sure. And it's fun just to have something to kind of chase after, something to motivate you every day. So just keep doing that. And then on the broader like USA team handball side, I think it's so many things wrapped into one. But I think like getting a viable network of youth programs across the country, and something similar with colleges where we have kids growing up who know about handball, who play handball just the same way that they would play youth soccer or basketball, whatever sports kids are most popularly playing right now. And have some college networks. I mean, it doesn't have to be hundreds of colleges, but if we have quality college teams that kids can go to play for and, get placement in with a European club so they can learn the game and come back and have like a truly American national team where it's kids who grew up in the US, learned handball here, and can kind of kick ass on the world stage in handball because they have the right infrastructure, they had the right coaches, and yeah, I mean it's going to be hard to do all that, of course, but I think there's so many exciting things, and this is a really cool time for handball. It's going to be fun to see what the Olympics bring next year. It's going to be fun to see what 2024 kind of brings, if we can qualify for that. And then like 2028's been on everyone's radar for a long time, and I think that's going to be the big catalyst for change here. I think that's going to be unreal.
Amen, dude. Amen. Great
Yeah.
answer. Dude. Yeah, no. Consider those first few things, man. Like those are doable. All right, those are doable.
Yeah.
So, that's awesome.
Just chasing cool experiences with a sport you love to play. Doesn't get much better than that.
Joey and I have seen a lot of stuff, man. Let me tell you that. That's something that kids don't realize, that you can do whatever you want with this sport, whether you want to do stuff with it here or do stuff internationally. I mean, I try to tell my guys all the time, like, you're always looking, it's chicken or the egg with college kids looking for a job. Like, oh, I don't have experience, so I can't get the job I want. And the job says you need to get experience, but I can't get experience because of the job. No job will ever let me. And I'm like, I will give you that experience. I'll give you management skills. I'll give you marketing skills. I'll give you, financial skills. We'll give you all these different skills, social, like networking, just project planning, like things like that. Like those are skills that you can use at any job, regardless of what your background is. Like I learned probably more from starting the handball team at Ohio State than I did with my engineering degree that helped me with my current engineering job. And that's what people are like, how, well, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, oh, well, you don't understand that, engineering is very tailored towards specific situations, and what I do for work doesn't really pertain to much of that right now. But I'm an engineer, but a lot of it has to do with like just being organized and creating a structure and uh, communicating with people on an effective basis. And that's where it's just like I can help people have those opportunities. They just have to see that there's potential there. And handball's the wild west right now. You could come in and do whatever, like anything. You could do anything, like, and then it's just I try to tell people that, and they, I don't know, they, some of them buy into it, some of them don't, and that's something that we just need to sell more people on. And I think once people see that there's a pathway with handball, it'll be, the floodgates will open. So
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it opens some really amazing doors for people, for all of for the three of us, for so many more people. Hopefully, we can share that with others along the way.
Amen, man. Amen. Drew, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, talking to you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really excited now. I think you're going to do some great things, man. And
I appreciate that.
Any way we can help, like, I already DM'd you a bunch of stuff on Instagram. So
saw that. Thanks.
Yeah,
sliding in. One more big topic though. Oh boy, son of a gun, that dang Zoom! I'm telling you guys. We're almost done here. So one question we wanted to talk to Drew about before we wrapped up today's show. So we'll see if he can get back on here and we can get things back in order. But I apologize, folks. You get caught up in the moment and really hyped up on the conversation, and then you realize, oh, hey, I'm Zoom. Remember me? You only get 40 minutes. So everybody, thanks for tuning in so far. We definitely will not take another 40 minutes, so everybody's got to eat dinner. I know a lot of our viewers are obviously on the West Coast, so their dinner time's still in a couple hours, but want to make sure that we accommodate everybody else's meal plan. Hopefully, maybe it's a little Sunday evening watching Shootin' Straight. I'm not sure what people do on their Sunday evenings. I know ours is very casual, so we try to relax, maybe do some cleaning, hang out with the dogs. Good times here. But looks like I got everybody back, and we'll finish things up here. Sorry for the Zoom there. I lost track of time again. I'm really poor with that. But last question I wanted to ask was, obviously you're talking about opening doors and great opportunities. We didn't even talk about your work with TB12. Could you explain? I don't even know what TB12 even really does. I don't know, you get to meet Tom Brady. I know you got pictures with him. Is he a cool guy? Did he kiss you? Did all these other things? I'm just trying to give us a breakdown on that.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, it was handball that led me to TB12 in the first place. Because what we do at TB12 is it's centered around recovery. So injury recovery was kind of the initial focus, and 2015-ish, late 2015, early on when I was playing handball, I had a couple injuries. I had a pretty bad ankle injury and was looking for a rehabilitation place, and TB12 was close enough to where I was at Bentley that it was, obviously as a Patriots fan, I was like, this is amazing. This is really cool. And they were at that point, pretty kind of restrictive about clients, and you had to apply and have either an injury or athletic potential, whatever it was, to get in and be treated by them. So got in, and I used all of the money that I had saved as working as a tour guide at Bentley on paying for a few sessions there. And I was like, I liked it. I got to know a couple people. It's all right, I'll try and, ask someone, see if I can get an internship, because it was still tiny at that point, just one facility in Foxborough, and ended up interning there for my whole senior year. So the plan worked, and then have been working at TB12 full time since I graduated college, which has been amazing. Awesome experience.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was a cool path, and it was like we were saying, handball kind of opened that door for me. And if I hadn't gotten hurt, I would never have given it a shot. But we've grown a lot, obviously, since then, and we do kind of a multitude of things, but the core of it is centered around Tom's approach to recovery. So it's this concept that he calls pliability, which is a state of your muscle tissue where we use deep force muscle work. So it's kind of like what a traditional PT or athletic trainer would do, but we have a different proprietary approach to it's kind of like a massage therapy technique. And that's what we do in our facilities. So we have a facility in Boston and one in Foxborough. And then we also sell products, t-shirts and fan apparel, as well as like functional equipment. So we're big on resistance bands, like all the training that Tom does centers around resistance bands and body weight exercises. So we sell resistance bands, vibrating foam rollers that are made to give you deeper muscle stimulation when you're recovering, protein supplements. Like it's really blown up. Yeah, we got a pretty wide range, and it's just an amazing experience. Learn from some incredible people. Obviously, being around Tom is a really cool thing, and that was when we had like 5 or 6 full-time business employees, and it was a little bit of a tighter knit, smaller group, and Tom was around more. Obviously, he was still on the Patriots at that point, so it wasn't uncommon to be like sitting in an office in our facility in Foxborough and have Tom just open the door and say hi. So that was cool. There were some really awesome times, and we had a lot of the Patriots players coming in. Like Gronk would come in every day, Edelman, all these guys. So I got the chance to meet a lot of those guys in like smaller, different ways. But Tom, as much as I was a Tom Brady fanboy going into it, like the man that he is what you would expect. Like the nicest guy, genuine. I mean, I would had smaller conversations with him as an intern, and he remembered my name, which was crazy and kind of blew me away, and would always kind of go out of his way. Yeah, like he'd go out of his way to ask how work was going and like what I was working on and stuff like that. And it's not what you expect from someone who's worth the amount of money he's worth and has the life that he has. But yeah, genuinely cool dude, and it's a fun company to work at because we're building something that I think could be pretty awesome in the future. And whether or not I'm still a little bit bitter that he's on the Bucks is irrelevant. I mean, it is what it is. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, Drew, that sounds like a perfect experience for you, because once you become the Tom Brady of team handball, you'll have the inside scoop on how to run your own company.
Yeah,
there.
Exactly.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, it's fun. It's really cool. Yeah, and it's speaking of the Tom Brady of handball, Nikola Karabatic is a big fan of TB12. Interestingly enough, he's a Tom Brady fan. I somehow one day I was looking and I was like on Instagram, and I noticed that he commented on one of our pictures. I was like, why is this happening? Like, how is the dude that is like the kind of the Tom Brady of handball, I guess, in a weird way. I mean, he's not that old yet, but like, the guy that's still dominating at age 36, whatever it is. So, if we can ever expand into handball, I will, I'll first one to leave that card.
I'll Venmo you money just to send.
Yep. Seriously, like whatever you want. Like I'll give you $100 right now. Like whatever it takes. Like we'll make this happen. Like that's something like that's my transition question there. It's like you got all the Patriots guys coming in. Like I realize that like you don't want to jeopardize your job or anything like that. But like, is there ever like an opportunity where like you're just chatting with them and maybe like you just pull up your phone and you're like watching a video and they'll be like, oh hey, what are you watching there? I'm like, oh, just some team handball. I'm just like I work with Team USA as well. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're like, hey, Jules, you wanna maybe sling the ball around a little bit? We can maybe find your spot.
Playing left wing.
Oh
Edelman,
my gosh,
this
little sneaky guy running around all the time.
Like, I've always wondered if just because Giselle's from Brazil, like if Tom has ever, like he watched the handball in Rio. I don't know.
I bet.
I don't know. I someday
I would get fired if I was in your spot, man. I guarantee it. I would get fired. They'd be like, "This annoying handball guy, you're out of here." Like, oh my god.
He's throwing handballs at all these pro athletes just to see if any of them have a good.
Do you have a desk? Do you have a desk at work? Do you have a desk?
We have a separate office now from where our facility is, but.
Right. I was gonna say, just put a handball on your desk and be like, just real subtle, like subliminal messaging,
just in case.
Yeah.
We did like a little content series when I was an intern where we filmed some videos of me shooting handballs at our facility, and maybe Tom saw it, maybe he didn't, I don't know. But if you ever see him talking about handball, I hope that I'll make that my mission at some point to get Tom Brady to watch a handball game or something.
That'd be a huge win. He
must know what it is. Let's just we'll resign ourselves to the fact that you can't have a Brazilian wife and watch the Olympics and be an athlete and not know what handball is. At least I hope. I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah.
What if he just calls you up after next year? He's like, "Hey, you play that handball sport, right?" Like,
I'm looking to transition.
You become the
imagine him shooting a handball.
It wouldn't be terribly fast, I feel like.
No, it wouldn't be. I mean, maybe like a wide open fast break. He'd be pretty dangerous. He's no Patrick Mahomes, Michael Vick, throwing on the run kind of guy. But
I think Tom would have to play goalie. I think because
that's what I was about to say as well.
Because size,
Well, and just like from a court vision standpoint, like he's gonna at least make a couple saves, and then outlet passing and things like that.
Yeah.
He'd be cash money. So, and he's not a big runner. So, at least I don't know on the field. Maybe he runs a lot outside.
He's faster than he looks, but yeah. One question for you guys: who's your dream handball athlete? Who's your dream like crossover athlete into handball?
Oh man. Like of all time.
Of all time.
Oh geez. Okay.
Paul Rabel.
Do you know who that is?
Oh yeah, I love Paul. I love what he does. Like what he is for lacrosse. If there was someone that could do that for handball,
you're looking at it. It's the three of us here. That's who it is.
Look in the mirror, Drew. That's you.
Take on the mantle.
No, he's like I think lacrosse is the best transition sport in general. And just Paul Rabel, again, who he is as a person. I haven't met him, but my brother's gone to some of his camps, and my parents have talked to him, and like the way he carries himself, great guy. And then just like he's got the build, like the way you move in lacrosse, like honestly, anyone in the PLL, quite frankly.
Yeah.
See, I love that. I would say like a LeBron is too obvious of an answer, so I'm not about that mainstream media life, so I'm not going to go with that. It's tough, man. Like I look at you obviously want someone who's left-handed, and I don't know, baseball guys are hit and miss, but every time I put like D3 baseball guys on the handball court, like they got cannon, but they need a crow hop, like right. But it took them a long time you got to get out of that crow hop to throw it and get a jump shot going. So I don't know, like Mike Vick would be super cool, obviously, as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a lot of guys out there. Like it's tough. That's good. It's a good spin zone question there for us. So I'll have to think about it for next time for sure. Because I don't know. Like Joey and I are very anti that list kind of thing of like creating the transition group because we realize that it'll just never get answered. And I'm sure you saw the football without borders that went and played in Hungary.
That was fun to watch.
Right. So it's one of those things that you're like, interesting. Maybe it's not as easy as they
so there's a lot of talk until they step on the court.
Yeah. Exactly. So now, were you like PT in school, or what was your major?
No, I work in marketing.
Okay.
So I went to Bentley's a business school, so I have a business background, but then like PR was kind of my major in college. So do a little bit of everything, but mostly marketing.
Okay.
So I do the PT stuff is really interesting, but it's fun to just work in sports and be around sports and kind of like we all feel, at least in playing handball and whatever you do for work, it's fun to be around things that you love to do in sports, especially.
Yeah.
How would you market handball differently? Like, what would you like? Do you have any ideas, like a crazy campaign or something?
Good question. I don't know. It's just tough because I feel like sports specifically, like you look at the PLL and they market it on the back of personalities, and Paul Rabel's incredible at that, and that's kind of their thing. Their niche is like, yeah, we're taking this great sport that is growing at a really fast rate in the US, but we also have people that fans know and that they can watch. And hard to say, but like, you take someone like a Lewis Howes, and that's a really cool marketing tool because he's huge. He's got millions of followers. That's an interesting avenue, but I think the Olympics are going to be huge. I think that's kind of like the launching pad for what you do marketing wise. I think
how do we compound the Olympic effect? Like, so we have the Olympics.
I know.
What do you do to?
You gotta get.
That's a good question too. I don't know, because I think there are things that need to happen that are out of our control in order to make that really work. And one of those things is the TV situation. Like, if you had handball consistently or somewhat regularly on TV in the US, you could push people in that direction and say, hey, like this is what's happening. There's handball on TV. But I really do like a lot of what, like, I have talked to Melissa a bunch when we're having our ambassador meetings and stuff, and what she's doing with the Instagram, with telling stories of our athletes. Like, that's huge. It's got to be people focused, and you got to show that, like, there's so many cool stories, but similar to the experiences that we had. Like, if you can take a kid who played, like you said, JD, like a D3 baseball player, he's not going to play professionally, but he could be good enough to play for a US national team. So showing the stories of people who started playing when they're 18, 19, they've played for a national team, like that's kind of how you captivate people, and that's how you show people that, yeah, this is something that you can pursue longer term. You know, your window isn't closed on being an athlete just because you just graduated college and you don't have a, you know, an MLB contract or anything like that, or, you know, you're not going to Europe to play basketball. So yeah, let's take, you know, find the right people at that level and kind of bring them in through that storytelling. And I think they're doing an awesome job with that. And then that video too that came out a few weeks ago that just showed off what handball is all about. Like, the old video that we had, obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen. There was an old, like, 2009
like
era.
Patches O'Houlihan from Dodgeball
Oh, that's
video.
exactly what I had in mind watching that video. I'm glad you think that too, because it was like grainy, exactly what the Patches O'Houlihan video looked like. And yeah, it's just like things like that. People, you know, sometimes I tell people, we've all had the experience, tell people you play handball and they're like, oh, you play that wall game? No, you don't play the wall game. Like, we need people to first understand what the sport is, and that was a huge help for doing that.
Yeah, I think we just need. My thing is, like, you obviously being in the marketing world more than me being engineering, and I just feel like consistent content, and you know, we have years of content that just was never actually put out anywhere, and we can release it whenever we want because nobody knows that it's old, kind of thing, unless it visually looks old. But you know, that's something that I feel like if we can start pushing to TV groups, and I don't know, you know, my dad used to work in TV, and I've bugged him about it, and it was very different 30 years ago than it is now, and he just tells me all these things, and I'm like, Dad, that's not helpful at all. Like, what do you mean? Just like send them a letter? Like, no, they're just gonna delete it, or throw it in the trash. So it's something that I feel like if we got actual visually appealing content that TV groups can work with, like, you know, I've been on TV with handball related stuff a couple different times, a couple different stations here in Columbus. Like, you know, Joey, if he wants to, could probably snap his fingers and do the same. And same for you, Drew. Like, when you get a youth, you know, event, like, that'd be the time to get a local TV station come out and be like, hey, like, you know, we got this youth thing going on, and even before the event, maybe before and during, that way you get people to see it on TV to come out, and then during that, so you can capture kind of what's going on. So that's something that, like, it's like a slow plug for TV, but obviously not the long game with like full games and things like that, but something to look at for the future.
Yeah, and even just, you know, more video of handball. Like, it's hard to, you know, we most of the games that I play in Boston are not videotaped, and it would be great for so many different reasons, but to have like a library of games that are played in nationals. And
absolutely. Oh, we're losing connection with
oh,
Drew there.
It's what you're saying about can you guys hear me?
Nope. Well, I couldn't hear him. Joey was moving there. He's frozen.
I can hear you.
Okay.
You can hear me? All right. Hope we're back.
Okay. Yeah, because you know, that's something that I try to tell people is actually our friend Chris O'Reilly, friend of the program. He got me onto a app within Facebook called Swish Live. And basically you can get a 2-week free trial, and it has like a scoreboard and a time, and it just goes and streams right to Facebook Live. So then you can like have that on your videos for Facebook. So you can't like post it to YouTube or do any like tagging, but I don't know that we're at that point yet for tagging, but at least it gets you games that have been filmed. So OSU, all the kids get iPads, so I just have a kid bring a new iPad to film each game every time, and I just have them, you know, go into Swish Live. I have them log into my Facebook, and then they just 2 weeks I get a new iPad, and so we're very fortunate with that. But it's something to think about as a easy option for clubs that you get something that has a scoreboard with a clock. It looks like it's somewhat professionally done. Problem is it's on an iPad, so you could do it on your phone or get a mount or something like that. So I'm lazy. I probably should just buy an iPad mount. Would probably be a thing to do. I'm sure those exist, but what I'm really trying to do is use OBS and my DSLR camera to create like a production setting, and that's something that can be done. And OBS is free. I already had a camera I bought myself for my wedding as a present to myself, and then I just need someone that wants to be willing to film the game, and that's where you talk about parents and random people just in the stands, get out of the stands and get helping. You guys can work the scoreboard. You guys work scoreboards, score tables. We don't need players doing this all the time. We got people that want to help out and see that we're struggling. So there's people, we just got to get them engaged. So cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Drew, this has been fantastic. I know we've gone over the hour mark, but I think it was good, stimulating conversation, and we feel like a lot of people in the U.S. now get to know you a little better, including ourselves. Like I said earlier, Joey and I are both like, who is this guy? And I feel like now we're definitely like, all right, Drew's one of the good guys. So that's good to hear.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, this has been a blast. It really has. It's been great getting to know you guys, and good to know that there are some other people that have experienced the same things that I have in handball, and should definitely do it again at some point.
Yeah.
Oh
absolutely.
Yeah. You're going to be back on, and we'll talk more offline as well. And,
we got to get your contract finalized.
Yeah. ASAP.
Yeah.
Yeah, just good to know that you're out there fighting the good fight, Drew, and
likewise.
You're a good guy. So
definitely, no, it's been great, and I appreciate you guys having me on. Love what you guys are doing with the show, and hopefully I can become a recurring guest at some point soon, because it'd be great to be back on.
We'll hold you to that. You're gonna regret saying that.
With some update, I'm sure I will. Next time we'll have some exciting updates about college development and youth development, and hopefully we're playing handball again indoors at that point. That would be nice.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. As always, shooters, keep shooting. Got Drew's contact information here. The first one's his Twitter mabob, and the other one's his Instagram guy. So if you're looking to check out the social media venues, give Drew a follow, as well as any updates within the USATH Handball spectrum from the College Ambassadors world. He's got it all going on there. We get our last little closing bit, and then